Hi, in this video what we're going to do is we're going to write an equation of a polynomial function starting with the zeros. So to do that we want to just remember this flow chart. It goes both ways. So if you want to write it in standard form, you first have to write it in factored form from the zeros. And then from factored form we can multiply it out to put it in standard form. So here's how we're going to start this one. If x equals 1 is a 0, in other words, that's an x-intercept, then the factor is going to be x minus 1. All I have to do is subtract 1 from both sides. Yes, this should equal 0, but I'm going to do that after I get all of these done. If x is equal to negative 2, if that's a 0, then the second factor is x minus 2. All I have to do is subtract 2 from both sides. The third one, x equals 4. So the factor is x minus 4. And keep in mind, these are the zeros of the function. So I'm going to set those equal to 0. Now let's take a look at this. If you plug in 4, you get 0. If you plug in 2, you get 0. If you plug in 1, you get 0. And the zero product property says if you multiply anything by 0, you're going to get 0. So this is just, again, we're starting with the zeros. We put it in factored form. What we're going to do from here is write this in standard form. So what we do is we take 2 of these at a time and multiply them out. The order doesn't matter because 1 times 2 times 3 is the same as 3 times 2 times 1, which is the same as 2 times 3 times 1. So the order doesn't matter with multiplication. So what I like to do oftentimes is just leave that first one as is and multiply these 2 out because I like to have my binomial first. So x times x is x squared. X times minus 4 is minus 4x. And I'm going to move to the negative 2 and distribute it. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. And negative 2 times negative 4 is positive 8. Still equals 0. Alright, now I can go ahead and clean this up a little bit. Because those two middle terms are like terms, I can change that to a minus 6x plus 8 equals 0. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this x and I'm going to distribute it down this trinomial. So I'm going to get x cubed minus 6x squared plus 8x, and then I'm going to move to the negative 1, and I'm going to do the same thing. Negative 1 times x squared is negative x squared, and again I'm going to put these underneath each other. Negative 1 times negative 6 is positive 6x, and I failed to put an x there. My phone was ringing, sorry, and it distracted me. And then negative 1 times positive 8 is negative 8. Next I'm going to combine these together. X cubed minus 7x squared plus 14x minus 8. Okay, we can say this equals 0 or equals y, and that gives us the standard form. There's no like terms to be added. It's in marching order. We have our top exponent first, and it goes down in descending order, so we're done. Now number 10 is the same thing, a little bit different because we've got 2 zeros, which looks weird, but basically if we do the same thing here, we have x equals 0. Well, when you subtract 0 from both sides, you get x minus 0, which looks weird because we know anything minus x or minus 0 is going to be itself, so that in and of itself is equal to x. If we do repeat that process with the second 0, my second factor is another x. And then thirdly, if x is equal to 3, then the factor is x minus 3 equals 0. And now I can just change that out to an x squared times x minus 3 And you can see again, if I put this 0 in this place right here, the zero product property says if you multiply any factor by 0, your answer is going to be 0. So I can place this 0 in for this x. So that's why that's going to wind up being x squared. Now again, this is factored form. We want to put it in standard form, so we're going to take it one step further and multiply these through. So x squared times x is x cubed. And x squared times the negative 3 is negative 3x squared. And that equals 0. And that gives us our polynomial equation written in standard form. And that concludes this video.